when I said, Sherry, what do you think is best for me to talk about today? She said, it's been a really hard time all over the world. And that I do know. These last 2, almost 3 years have been extraordinary for all of us. We have faced many challenges, and I also believe we've received many, many blessings. And seeing the blessings through the challenges is a very important part of spiritual work. It's like when things do get difficult, when we do have loss, when we do have overwhelm, when we do have fear, which have all been part of our individual lives in this last year to some extent or another. What the most important thing is to do is how can we lift ourselves? And if we can lift ourselves in our energetic being, in our emotional being, in our mental being, and literally have that lifted feeling as we approach the challenges that we have, that lifted feeling will make a world of difference in how we go to the world and how the world comes to us. Now, there are many, many ways of staying lifted, and it is a discipline. When we hit the dumps, we go down the rabbit hole, things get difficult, we get overwhelmed. What do we do in those moments when those things begin to crowd into our life, into our mind, and into our emotions? What can we actually do to support ourselves to lift it all, to lift it so that we can bring the best of our gifts and our skills and our essence forward for ourselves most of all? And when we do that for ourselves, we naturally change the energetics, change the light and matrix around situations, people, etc. So that's what I decided to talk about today. And for me, one of the most important connections I have and have had since I was quite young is with the realm of angels. Now, I want to do some distinctions here because in my history, in my experience of the angelic realm is unique unto itself. And then there are guardians of light who are human beings who are not in a body, have lived rich lives, have learned to work with challenges, have learned to bring themselves forward and lift. And these I call guardians of light. They actually are of the human line of evolution. They're like us. The angelic line is different than us. They are, in a sense, living out of body with the full grace of their love, their power, their heart, and they're different. So they bring a much deeper, richer spiritual essence into what we do if we relate to them. And so then we have guides. We have beings who many of you, I would assume, work with, specific to ourselves or specific to situations. Guides who are learned in the skills of helping people in body deal with their lives. Guides who have lived lives. They've faced challenges. They have found ways physically, emotionally, and mentally, as well as deeply spiritually, to bring guidance into our lives when we need it. And I'm, for one, believe there are many times during a day and definitely during a week when I need guidance. And so for me, there are angelic presences that we can attune to. There are guardians of light that we can attune to. And there are guides that we can attune to. All of them live within the spiritual essence or the spiritual world that we don't necessarily see or hear or feel in the way our 5 senses perceive the world. Now, everyone here has access to, most everyone, I don't know if anyone here does not, they could not, but has access to seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. Now, those are the 5 senses that all of us know. But each one of those senses has a higher octave. So we can see more clearly at a higher frequency and vibration. We can hear at a higher frequency and vibration. We can touch, feel, smell. All of our senses become bigger, brighter, more light. And they begin to perceive frequencies that our physical eyes do not. And from what the short amount of time I've spent with you, all have the ability in your hearts, and many of you actually do in your daily lives, you open up to that expansive, higher octave of all the senses. Now, that opening that we have is something that is innate to all of us, but many people forget that they can tune in to higher frequencies, higher color, higher sound, higher taste, higher smell. And so when I work with angels and when I help people tune into the angelic realm, the realm of guardians of light, the realms of guides, I ask them to get themselves into a space inwardly where they begin to allow themselves to open to what is actually really here, this moment that we're talking. Every one of us here sit wherever we're sitting in our homes, and we are surrounded by the light. Whether you call on it or not, the light is always present. But when you learn to call on it, that light is bigger, brighter, and in a sense touches our senses more directly. And that's what I want to help all of us just strengthen today in a way so that we really begin to relate to the realms of light that are right here where we are right now, only existing at a higher frequency, a higher octave of vibration. So that's what I want us to do for a bit today. Now I know that this group has been focused on working with people who have lost children, who have lost family members, who have had people cross over into the other realms of light. And when that happens to us individually, it can be really a pain that stays with us for a while because we have a loss of their presence as we've known it in the third dimension. We have a loss of perhaps their tone of voice, their touch, their hug. And that can become a wound within us that is a wound of loss. When we begin to open up to all the realms of light that there are, and we begin to let ourselves and teach ourselves to see, to hear, to feel, to smell, even to taste those realms, that sense of loss that we have begins to be healed. It begins to be mitigated because we realize that whether we are alive in a body or whether we are alive in spirit, we are alive. Our hearts are alive. Our senses, our energy, our personalities, our beingness, our souls are all alive. And as we begin to move our lives into a deeper and deeper spiritual connection, which is why I loved hearing the gentleman from Brazil speak. I've spent much time in Brazil. I have an incredible respect for the quality of spiritual heart that Brazil holds, and many of the people that I have been with in Brazil hold. And that level of ease in realizing that everything is here right now with us. And we as human beings can learn to and choose to perceive that light, that energy, that essence. And perhaps the most important thing about angelic, a guardian of light, and guide interaction is that the thing that is important is that we need to know that all of the light and the essence of light exists all at once. That those angelic beings are here with us right now. Now, there are levels and layers of angelic beings that live with us, that interact with humanity, that interact with the earth, interact with the nature spirits on our planet, interact in all planetary situations, not just Earth. And so can I ask some of you for a moment, how many of you, you can just raise your hand or something, how many of you have an easy communication with spirit? Fabulous. And how has that, one or two of you, how has that easy communication with spirit enriched your life? Yes. Okay, if someone would like to share how it has impacted their life, the easy communication with spirit, that would be wonderful.
Okay, I'll say it saved my life. Very, very much. That we'll just say that sometimes when I'm really in a bind, and it could be physically, I follow step by step what spirit has gently communicated. So I and there's a lot more, but briefly, that's how I feel.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'm sure you all have your stories, and I thank you very much for sharing that one. It is true that when we have that free communication spirit, our daily walk becomes much easier. Why don't we all just close our eyes for a moment and get into an attunement? We're going to do a little breath. This is a breath that I shared with you last time I talked with you. I call it the Reju breath. And what I'd like us to do is just breathe together. Now, in the Reju breath, it's simply inhaling and exhaling. But what I want you to do is inhale and imagine the light comes up from the base of your spine, above your head, and gently falls down in the exhale. So you're breathing in, up the back of your spine, and you're exhaling as it falls down in front. So there's a circularity to the breath with the inhale and the exhale. So just for a moment, close your eyes and begin the breath of bringing the breath, the light, the love up the back of your spine. Let it roll around the front and come right down the front to the base again. And just continue inhaling upward and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And now just rest quietly for a moment, eyes still closed, and feel your breath move in and out of your heart. And just continue this breath as I talk for a few moments. These last 2 years, 2.5, 3 for some, have truly challenged our hearts on many levels. What I call this kind of a challenge to the heart is a heart massage. Because as our heart needs to come forward in new ways, as we must deal with strange, unusual situations, and in many instances during this pandemic, we have to deal with loss of friends or friends who lose family members or other friends. Our heart gets moved profoundly. And our heart can be moved profoundly into difficult challenges, if we take it that way, or our heart can be moved profoundly into a massage in which the residue of discomfort, of pain, of fear can actually be moved out of our heart to leave us with a fresh spaciousness of heart. So as you're breathing in and out of your heart, be aware of the energy around you. Each one of you who have an easy communication with spirit, right this moment, be aware of it. Be aware of the feeling around your body. Be aware of what you might see, what you might hear, what you might smell, or how you might be touched by the light that's around you. Continue the soft breathing in your heart. And even though all of us, many of us here, have that easy communication, ask inwardly to your own most high self to have every one of your senses at a higher octave to be energized, vitalized, and made even more potent for you. So that whatever sight you have, clairvoyance, it becomes clearer and brighter to guide you in your day. Any clairaudience you have becomes clearer, fresher, more impactful. You know you're hearing. If it's through touch, clairsentience, let all of your nerve endings in your body elevate to a higher octave so you can feel the presence of the light and the beings of light who are with you. As you breathe, be aware that it could be a fragrance that comes into you that means, I'm here, is what Spirit says. I'm here, an angel says. I'm here. a guardian of light says, with you. Simply magnify your awareness on all levels and breathe gently in your heart. And staying with eyes closed if you can open them if you want, but it becomes more privately personal to you when our eyes are closed. And sometimes those who guide us can get through to us easier when our eyes are closed. Now, if at any point in your life today there is a challenge for you that you are needing to handle, bring it up in your mind and heart as you're breathing and put it out to the light around you. Because this light around you is filled with the essence of spiritual beings. Your own guardian angel is with you now. Maybe you have more than one guardian angel. They're with you. Guardians of light who walk with you every stage of your life, they're with you. Guides that come in with specific charges to help you with specific things, they're with you. So put your challenge into this envelope of light and say, help me with this. Give me clarity here. Give me more energy here. Give me the guidance I need to resolve or manifest what I need. Keep breathing in the softness of your heart. And listen, see, taste, smell, feel the touch of an answer for you. And then very gently, continue breathing, but open your eyes. And now with your physical senses activated. So you're actually seeing your room, hearing the noises in your location, feeling your skin. Be aware of what you were given. How many people, and you can simply raise your hand, how many people they feel they received something to help them with a challenge that they have? Fabulous. Me too, even though I was talking. Good. One of the most important things, and many of you work with people who've lost loved ones. Many of you may have lost loved ones. But there is an important piece to know. When someone has a loss of a beloved, they really want to continue the connection as they know it. They want the same person, the same personality, the same voice, the same heart to flow. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen when someone passes over and dies. The problem that can happen for us here in body when we lose someone is that we can want the connection with them so deeply, and we move toward that connection in many, many different ways, that for some who have lost, that loss does not the loss, they're people's deep need to keep the loss mitigated. In other words, be with me, let me hear you, let me feel you. I want you as you were when you were my beloved. When that happens, it makes a profound impact on the spiritual being who has passed. Because the most important thing about our death, which we all will face, is we leave our life. We leave our packaging, we leave our clothing, we leave our beloved things, and we move into the light with nothing but what is in our heart and soul. Now, when we can walk down that corridor of light with clarity of mind, knowing we go toward the light and newness, new life, new experiences, new light, that's a very powerful moment for everyone who has transitioned. And what's important for those of us who have lost beloveds is that we actually are able to let them go on the next stage of their journey. Let them move on into the realms of light. And there are indeed, as many of you know, realms and realms and realms of light to move into that are not grounded in this three-dimensional world that we live in. They're grounded in higher dimensionality, fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth, 13th dimensional life. There are realms of light unimaginable that people who die move into. And if we here can allow our beloveds to move on, we can love them, they can love us, we can have chats with them after they pass, we can do all of that, but without the urgency of demanding that they stay who they were. Instead, we know their souls on a path, and we empower them to walk their path, whether they died young, whether they died midlife, or whether they died old. They can move on to new realms of experience and expression. And often when I work with people who have lost, that's what I find critical, is to help that person reach a place in their own heart where there's peace enough and permission enough to allow those who've passed to move on. And when I work with people and they actually reach the place where they can say, I let you go in the light, I give you all my love, and I know you love me, but I know you can move into the light. When someone can actually do that, the healing in their heart becomes exponentially powerful, because they begin realizing that as they release and let go, they will too be released and let go. So I just wanted to add that to what we're talking about, because very often when someone passes that we dearly love, you can put them in the hands of the angels. You can ask for specific guardians of light to walk with them down the corridor of light and be with them on the other side, to help them choose that which they want to do, need to do on the other side, which will be the most beneficial and powerful for their soul's growth. When we learn to release and let go, bring the angels in, bring the guardians of light in, bring the guides, give them a specific duty to help with the person who's passing, then all of a sudden we feel empowered that we can help. We're not literally just drenched in our grief, which can also happen. My mother died when I was 35, and it was a long, difficult journey with cancer. And I believed she was working in a holistic health center. She was helping other people with cancer. She was doing so much spiritual growth. I just was so happy for her. And I thought she beat the cancer. I truly did. I work as a healer. I was with her healing center at the time. She had been part of our classes, and I thought she'd beat it. She didn't. And that brought to me an incredibly deep crossroads, that what I believed, was it real? Whether it was holistic health or alternative practices, or my mother died. And when she did die, there were some difficult things that happened in the end on a family basis. And what happened for me is I closed down to spirit. First time in my life. It was kind of like I couldn't understand why she didn't make it. At that point, she was the first person in my life who had died that I deeply, deeply loved. And I closed down, and I didn't want to see, and I didn't want to hear, and I didn't want to talk. I just went into this place of such emptiness inside. And then one day I walked into a friend's bedroom who had been a mentor of mine and a mentor of my mother's. And all of a sudden this woman looks up and she said, "Oh, Linda, your mother visited." And I went, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to go there. It's like I couldn't. And she said, she wants you to know that she came in and her crown chakra was brilliantly lit with light. And she looked at my friend, who was fully open and clairvoyant at that point. I was semi, but not totally. And she said, look, I did everything I needed to do. I did it the way I needed to do. I died the way I needed to die. And look at the light that I have gained. And my friend said that light was so bright and so deep and so potent that it just almost blew her away. And as she told me this, I was still in that place of closure, of hurting. And my inside was going, oh yeah, right. But what she then said changed everything for me. She said, your mother had a message for you. And I said, yeah, not quite that bad, but almost. She said, Linda, She wants you to know that your life will now be easier with her gone. That hit me like someone slugged me in the stomach, because I had been aware that when my mom died, my life was going to get easier. I never said it to a single soul. I never admitted it to anybody. And I felt guilty in my own heart that that was what happened. And when my friend said that to me, I knew my mother, in truth, had visited her and gave me the message I needed. And from that moment, I started opening to the divine presence in so many more ways than I ever had before. So death of a loved one can be profound for them. My mother did everything she needed. It wasn't what it looked like down here of the difficulty. It was purposeful and grace-filled. And for me, that message from my mother changed everything. And I began realizing that it wasn't for me to stay in grief or anger or confusion. It was to open up to the reality of what life is here and what life is in over there, wherever there is, on all the other levels. So when I talk about angels and guardians and guides, they're incredibly real. They are around. It's like we walk in a living cloud of angels. And at any moment in time, we can drop into the higher octave of sight and hearing and feeling and taste and touch, and we can be aware of them. When we're really under stress, it can be harder to open our senses. But if we practice keeping our senses lifted and keep ourselves lifted in difficult situations, that lift, that very lift, opens our eyes, opens our senses, allows us to perceive far more than we ever knew. So I believe that there is one other thing that I want to teach you, and it's a physical thing. And it's a very simple movement practice that when your heart is affected, whether it's affected physically, literally heart problems, whether it's affected emotionally and we get impacted, whether it's affected because our thinking skews and we start believing the negative is real. We start believing, as I did when my mom died, that all hope died with her, right? We start believing that with our mind. Those are only thoughts. And if you can change the thought, you can bring in the energy and the gracefulness of it. So this is a very interesting thing that I wanted to offer you that you can use yourself at any time, and I urge you to practice it because it builds the electrical and magnetic integrity of the heart, physical heart. And if our physical heart has strong vitality, the electrical system is flowing properly, then we have the spaciousness of heart to open up to ourselves and to other people that we work with or live with. So I'm going to show you this, and I want you all to do it with me as I share it with you. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take myself through it. Don't do it first, because I want you to get the full experience, okay? There is a physical experience with it. I call it the coupler pull, okay? So what I'm going to do is my wrist has little wristlets on it, and right below the thenar eminence, there's the first wristlets, and then there are 3 or 4 other wristlets. We all have a different number. I'm going to take my wristlets of both my left and my right hand and put the wristlets absolutely together. So they're bond. Then I'm going to fold my hands up. And I want you to see that my hands, I'm moving it away from my face. So you can see this finger is almost a half an inch higher than this finger. Now, there's no reason for that. My hands measure the same. All of ours do. We're pretty much, that's pretty much synchronized. So once I go like this, anytime during the day and I go, oops, I'm a little out of balance. My heart's electric system isn't quite what it needs to be. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, take the wristlets, put them together. All right, then I'm going to take my hands in front of my body as though they're a coupler pull on a train. And I'm going to inhale to the count of 7. Pulling my hands apart, count of 7. Then I'm going to exhale to the count of 7. Then switch your hands like this. Inhale. And exhale. Now, at the end of that second coupler pull, put your wristlets together again. And as with mine, they will be exactly balanced. Now, I don't know how this works. I don't know how it happens, but I know it works and helps the heart, both the physical heart and the emotional heart, stay open and balanced. So let's all do it together for a minute. I want you to measure your hands. Mine will no longer be out of balance, but you saw that they were. Okay, find out for yourself. Now, release them and do a coupler pull. Doesn't matter if the left or right is on top, doesn't matter. And pull so that there's some tension between your hands, like you're holding the couplers together on the train. Now, inhale for 7. Still pulling, still pulling, still pulling. And exhale, still pulling, still pulling, still pulling, still pulling. Now change the coupler. Get that tension going and inhale. Release your hands and check the length of your fingers. And if you notice a difference, and even just for yourself, go ahead and put your little hand up again so I can see it on the board here. Far out. This is such a simple exercise. And when our hearts are in the right place, when our hearts are open to ourselves and others, regardless of the challenge or the loss or the overwhelm or the fear that we have, when our hearts are balanced, we can handle anything. So I wanted to give you this as a tool that you can use and that you can share with others. You know, yes, it's mine, but it's not proprietary. If it can help someone that you know to get balanced, to stay balanced, share it with them, take them through. Because usually when people see this, they go, oh my God, what is that? And then they say this, they said, what just happened? It's magic, it's mystery, and it works. And if we can give people a little bit of, oh, here's something that looks really strange, but wow, look, something happened to me physically. They will begin to realize that something happened to their heart, something opened in their heart. It'll give them the fruit of belief, which is what my mother gave me after she died when she told my friend that tidbit of information that was profoundly important for me. We have been deeply enveloped and permeated by spiritual essence. And we are in so many diverse locations, and we are so many diverse people. But the spiritual essence that each one of us feels around us, within us, is the same. Spiritual essence does not change its shape or its form. It is the essence of all that is. People might call it God or Brahman or many, many different things. But the spiritual essence is utterly the same. So I want us right now to take the diversity that we have of location, the diversity of personality, the diversity of experience in spiritual realms. And I want us to begin to merge into the oneness that is really the only thing that's real. Even though we sit in our separate packages, our separate clothing, our separate personalities, in our separate locations, the spiritual substance that makes us all alive is the same. So in your imagination, imagine that we are joining our light. We're joining our love. We're joining our skill and awareness together into a huge planetary glow of light. And we're infusing this light with love. And as we create this extraordinarily beautiful connection, allow yourself first to drink of that connection for yourself. That as you breathe in and out, you bring that love, that light that we are collecting among us into your being, into your physical being, into your etheric being, into your emotional being, your mental being, and then through every one of the levels of spiritual beingness that you have. We all have them. And as you've allowed yourself to drink of, to eat of, to nourish yourself first, now, let each of us take of this light that we have collected among us and spread it around the world. Spread it to all members of humanity. Spread it to all four-leggeds, all winged ones, and to every single part of our planet. And let this light, this spiritual essence of our love, our light, infuse our planet everywhere. Everywhere. And then let's take it beyond our planet and begin to spread this collective love and light of ours to the other realms of light, to the realms of angels. Let's bless the realms of angels, to guardians of light, wherever they may be doing whatever work they're doing. Our love and light, let it nourish and sustain and vitalize them. And to everyone here who is a guardian or a guide, anyone in spirit who guides anyone else who's in body, let them be filled with this light. Give them an extra charge, extra healing, extra blessing, extra grace. And know that once we have created this together, which we have, it always exists. It is light that we can draw on for ourselves. It is love that we can draw on and share with others. It simply is. And we as a group, as a community of heart, have created it today. One of the most powerful creations we can ever do is that of love and light. And I ask now that all of the angels that all of you know, all of the guardians, all of the guides, that they draw in closer to each one of us as we go about our day to day or evening, as we walk the next week, as we walk the next months. There is magic happening on the planet. There is mystery that's here now. And our love and our light can add to that magic and mystery. We don't know what it is, but something is profoundly afoot on our planet. Positive nature, of a positive nature. Let yourself be aware of it. Walk in the light. Walk in the cloud of angelic witnesses. Take them wherever you go. Share with people that they also have access to this. And simply use this light we've created. It will only get bigger and only get stronger. And with that, I thank you so much for your presence.